Alright guys, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between the Vampire Coast and Tzeentch. It's going to be myself with Count Noctilus facing off against Hadries, who's going to be rocking the Sorcerer Lord riding on his disc here on the Shambling Bog. So this is one of our new maps on the Total Tavern map pack. Shout out to Waka Waka for all the glorious new maps, we love them. And this is one of my favorites. It has a really interesting design, so let me break it down for you. Both players, in terms of their spawn zones, start kind of in the corner, right? So you have myself here, and over on this side, Hadries is going to be spawning on the other side of this piece, which as soon as I loaded into the map, I was having power fantasies about getting Queen Bess and just shooting up and over this terrain and like nuking this area, but even still, it probably wouldn't do so well. Queen Bess just tends to miss so much, but I don't know, maybe an idea for another day. But the idea is that you kind of have all these Vanguard points on the outside to contest these 2 points that both players have a little bit of ways from their point. And then they do also have this contested point here in the middle, which is like the main one you're really going to be fighting over. It's a really cool idea, very different than other domination maps we have. I'm looking forward to playing it a little bit more. Now, as far as my build goes, it is going to be zombie deckhand mobs into the sunset, and we're going to be trying out the new handgun mobs. Not new, but they have been buffed, so they got increases to their overall damage, which is pretty cool. So I believe it was either a buff to their straight damage or armor piercing values, but I love Coast GUNLINE. I've never liked Coast as like a melee faction. I just like love the powder, and yeah, it's just so rad. So we got 4 handguns, 5 actually with one in the back. We do have animated Hulks to help deal with Zangors and other armor piercing pieces. And on the flank we got zombies and a bloated corpse. Yes, this man, the big thickness, is coming out. He's down with the thickness, dude. He's going to be moving up through the trees here, parking on the edge, and hoping we can get something this game. For Hadries and his army, he's got the Disc Lord, the Disco Master. He's pretty good. He's got a Chaos Spawn summon, does also have Blue Fire and Pink Fire. Both are very good spells. You can see a Blue Fire there. Did some respectable damage against my zombies. And his main core army is going to be Marauders, a Cold Hellbrass, who's an unholy nightmare to deal with for Vampire Coast. Like, a Luther Harkin could take him, but, Noctilus will definitely lose in a duel to him. So it's basically going to be Benny Hilling and just running from him this whole game. Severed Claw, Chromatic Abominations, and Pink Horrors here in the back, and they're not bad. 130 range. They do get slightly outranged by my guns, but even still, they do great damage against like zombie and chaff type units. So that DACA will be coming in, unfortunately. So both sides going to be lining up here and preparing to do battle. And oh, by the way, if you guys are Lizardmen players or Vampire Coast players, this map is great. You actually have water like on the map, so aquatics is relevant. Who would have thought? Isn't that cool? My zombies are going to be fighting in the water and getting an advantage. I mean, man, what's not to love, right? So Ross Moondal does come out. I drop my zombie summon from Count Noctilus on top of the shooting in the back, trying to shut down some of the DACA. And Handgun's doing respectable work. A little bit of poke on the Chaos Sorcerer Lord, but more importantly, the Marauders of Tzeentch here getting pounded by firepower. On the top objective, which of course is my kind of home far side objective, we are going to be trying to contest it. Excuse me. The Bloody Boy's thinking about ambushing, but I have Depth Guard with polearms and zombies on their way to grab that point there. And Count Noctilus is going to be dropping a Melkoths just to wear down those infantry units. Those are the spells I brought, was Melkoths as well as Invocation. Both are pretty good. Pit of Shades can work here against Zangors as well, but Melkoth spam is also very cost effective and a little bit more Winds of Magic budget friendly, so it allows you to do other stuff with your winds like healing. But yeah, the gunfire's not doing bad. We still have these deckhand mobs here, which are, of course, a summon, just trying to screen out the advancing Zangors and Pinks. So it is going to be some Pinks and Zangors coming in while the gunline continues to unleash. And dude, I love this so much. Just this, gunlines are just the most fun thing in this game. Any map where it can work, man, sign me up. That's going to be getting me my jollies all day, every day. So Screamers here as well. My Bloody Boy hiding in the trees, but I think Hadries has discovered it. We got more zombies getting ready to move out. And I also called in a Carronade in the back. It is in the trees, should have moved it out a little bit, but even still, it should be able to rip some shots into these guys. Another Pink Fire going down from Hadries while the main battle lines do collide. And unfortunately, I didn't really get up onto the point. My army's a little bit slower, but we're trading okay. Marauders getting smashed here, handguns putting work in. Unfortunately, a Sorcerer Lord has been able to regenerate shields, and on the far side of the battlefield, Zangor's trying to press this point, but it looks like the old Screamers are going to be intercepting my animated Hulks, but I do have the Depth Guard polearms on top of them, so it should be a pretty victorious fight for us. I think we'll be able to win this 2v1 between the Depth Guard and the animated Hulks. Depth Guard are definitely not a bad unit. They're a little bit susceptible to focus fire and whatnot, but with healing, a little bit of support, they can do well. So we finally do break through the shields of the Sorcerer Lord here. He does have a bit of a tree protecting him, but if we can get him down, that's going to mitigate the effectiveness of his future shields. More blues and pinks shooting all over the place. Animated Hulks taking some damage for sure. We're up on value about 26 to 14, so that was felt like it was a pretty good start. But the only big issue is I let myself get triple capped. I was playing a little bit too cautiously, which definitely shouldn't have happened, but it's kind of when you go with a big gun line, you want to be careful not to overextend. Zangor's coming around the flank. I line up both my guns to start shooting at the Zangors. Cannons coming from downtown, also helping out. And this objective should be going to us. So we are going to be flipping objective 3. Granted, Hadries does also have a 300-point lead, so it's a little bit scary. A couple scurvy dogs making their way around the side. But look at this. the powder just hammering down these Zangors, and man, that felt good. It was like old school, man, like Coast just kind of blasting away. You know, we see so many weird, cheesy things with Coast, like the Slaughter summon stuff, and just these like weird kind of melee-esque builds, but they're a gunline faction. That's what they always should have been, in my opinion, here, and it's what they can be. The Zangor is getting nuked by the powder, and the Doggo is going to be coming in to sweep and just chase those guys down to make sure they aren't a problem. Eocold's getting Benny Hilled. He's got 35 speed. Noctilus is 38. Noctilus is a vampire, so he's a little bit quicker. Unfortunately, the middle does belong here to the forces of Tzeentch. They still have their blues, a couple other units causing some disruption. Here, the Animated Hulks and company, though. It's a good combo. Animated Hulks and a Deckhand mob cost about the same as a Zangor. I believe they cost 50 gold more if you combine the price of the two, or maybe 100 gold, and you're able to win it pretty well. So the Animated Hulks and the Deckhand mobs here should be able to get through these Zangors eventually. We'll have to see a little bit of crumbling going down. Or Blue Fire from Hadries. That one wasn't as direct of a hit, but it still did work. And now we're calling in Fellbats. I saw a lot of shooting, a lot of fireworks going down, so I'm like, we need some bats, we need some disruption. And this map is very big. That's one of the only downsides if you're playing a slow faction on this map, I noticed as I was playing it, is if you want to summon slow infantry, you can only really do it from like the real deep set parts of the map. So Vanguard is probably king on this map, honestly, like Vanguard deployment units, which is something I should have brought more pistol mobs for that. That is definitely a lesson learned. Now, Severed Claw still grinding away. They're in pretty good shape, unfortunately. One of my handgun units here is caught in melee by some Zangors, but the Zangors are getting crossfired. The guns are still putting some respectable firepower down. Noctilus, Benny healing pretty effectively. And here we get some Chaos Knights of Tzeentch coming in. So we're up really, really heavily on value. We do get a Melkoth's going down. Melkoth's going to be slowing them down and doing some damage. So the Carronade's going to be tracking these bad boys. I do have my Carronade all the way deep here in the woods, which I believe has been able to hit. Yeah, and only 41 value. It must be shooting into the trees a little bit. So that's pretty unfortunate if that's the case. I could have sworn I tried to move it up, but yeah, maybe I didn't do the best job. So Chaos Knights pushing in, definitely going to be mulching these deckhand mobs as the reserve handguns are able to put some respectable damage. And Noctilus is going to be grabbing his halberd and moving in to help as more deckhand mobs are on their way up to try and get on this objective, which I really, really need. And soon we're going to be making a push for Objective 1, which is something I should have done a little bit sooner. Here my Depth Guard as well as my Hulks were able to decisively win that engagement against the Zangors and Screamers. Fellbats coming in, disrupting some of these Zangors as well, hoping to break their leadership with some doggo pressure. And the Chaos Knight's getting a little bit smashed up. I believe the cannon finally started to hit home here. Let's see if it did. Yeah, it looks like the cannon got 11 kills, which means it probably just crunks a bunch of Chaos Knights there. Yeah, I see it. Looks like it did. So Chaos Knight's getting taken down pretty hardcore. On the main battle line, the Sorcerer Lord of Tzeentch a little bit smashed up. We do have our Deccan mobs versus Zangors. Zangors will, of course, dominate them pretty hard. But, you know, the Vampire Coast is wearing them down. We're wearing down the old forces of Tzeentch, Houndos and Scurvy Dogs chasing those Chaos Knights, which are going to be broken. And now the Depth Guard are going to be heading towards the middle. I know I need that point. So we're going to be trying to focus on the middle point before it's too late, before my opponent really eclipses 1,000 points and starts to, you know, put this game away here. As far as my call-ins, mostly dogs and bats, just kind of fast, speedy units, which is going to be hurting a little bit in terms of capture weight. That's a big advantage that Hadries has. He's got Zangors out of Vanguard, which are super quick and can get up to the points quickly, whereas on this map, I found that, you know, I was really hurting for that, like I said earlier. Now the Melkoth's going down on pinks, trying to get him to crumble, get that sweet, sweet demonic disintegration. Hadries is going to be using a beautiful, beautiful Tzeentch army ability here, which is going to be just pouring down from the skies and nuking a lot of my coast units. So these zombie pirate deckhand mobs are going to be getting nailed, as well as the animated Hulks. And yeah, those guys not long for this world. That definitely hurts bad. Severed Claw here in the backfield, battling it out with Scurvy Dogs. I did get a bit of a surround on them, and it's wearing them down. Their HP isn't amazing at 4,000. Also shooting them with the crossfire from the deckhand mobs here isn't the worst. And this is where I sound the horn. I'm like, okay, I need to play Objective 1. I felt like I was starting to fall behind a little bit in terms of points, like to the point of no return. And yes, I have gotten a little bit of healing, but Hadries does have healing as well via Eocold, as well as his shield regeneration. So I wasn't fooled by my value lead. I knew this game was like dead close on value. So Forsaken on the way in, we're going to be using Melkoths, which honestly will probably eat through their shields on its own, which is very, very nice. And then Animated Hulks are a pretty good counter against Forsaken. Granted, Forsaken do cut through their lack of armor pretty well also, but you know, my guys only cost 500, so it's not a bad trade. Instantly, those Forsaken getting bashed up a little bit. And the middle objective is unfortunately owned by Tzeentch. I haven't been able to quite flip that yet, but what we do is we call in a couple of Hound units. So I do call in double Hounds to get 8 capture weight up to the points. I think it's 8 or 6. I can't remember off the top of my head. So we're going to be calling in those Houndos to the capture dogs to get the point. And here the blue horrors, unfortunately, are able to hold against my zombies and Hulks. much better than I expected, and the Fellbats of the gods have shut down these pinks for now. So this is a big, nice change for us. We're able to get the middle objective, get some good trades, and hopefully we'll be able to kind of maintain this. Our Depth Guard polearms have been getting invos, so these bad boys fighting like champions up to about 1,000 value, which is awesome. They cost 1,300 if I'm not mistaken. I think the polearms are the way to go. The armor piercing I think is warranted, and there's plenty of large on Tzeentch. I think the polearms are probably the way, although the dual wielding variant would be exponentially more effective at cutting through blues and whatnot. So I get this objective, and my next game plan was to head to objective 1 and try and secure that with my hound units. Now I could go for the cap right away and maybe have a chance of flipping it, but I figured, hey, let's break a couple units here. So we see a fight here with these blues. So we're going to dive these pinks and we're going to dive these blues. We're going to get 2 kills most likely, and then hopefully that'll open up objective 1. Granted, I did abandon this point a little bit, hoping that the Depth Guard and the remaining zombies would be able to get the job done here, which so far they haven't been. I did call in some handguns, but unfortunately some tattered Zangors and Screamers were able to jump on them. I do have a little bit of gun support here, shooting from downtown, and finally the Carronade did emerge from the bushes here. I mean, it's not amazing value, but at least it's putting pressure down. Probably mortars would be better in this matchup to deal with the blues and pinks and all that like demonic stuff, like a triple mortar type build I think could be really good. I'm excited to explore Coast. I know I've said that a couple times, but I'm legit, this has been an inspiring one, right? Like, Hadries is one of the best players in the entire world, and, Tzeentch is a pretty good faction now, for sure, and it seems like, Coast is holding its own in terms of the trading, and, maybe a little bit of a change on some of the initial tactics, and, we could not be as behind on points. So trying to flip this one, we did clear out all the chaff units here, but a couple Zangors coming out of the Vanguard, and those bad boys are going to be moving up here. So hustling back to the center are my doggos, and more zombies coming out of reserve here to try and get these points. Depth Guard polearms, I believe, are on their last legs and or have fallen. Cannon fire still coming down from the Carronade, shooting into the back of those Forsaken. And I do have triple handguns coming in. They're all very critical binding, but it's still a fair amount of firepower. Cannon shot trying to take down that Chaos Sorcerer Lord. Meanwhile, the back objective is secured by Hadries and the remnants of the Chaos Knights, who did not have a good time. Those Chaos Knights probably got like 400 value. Yeah, about 384. So not super good. So we do get the cap weight of the point as the hounds do arrive in, but the Zangor is quite resilient here. Now that I don't have my gun line fully established anymore, it's going to be harder to deal with them. We got more Battos on the way in, as well as deckhand mobs hustling up to the middle points here. Zombie pirate handgun mobs also cruising, and in the backfield we got animated hulks and deckhand mobs. Now that has been one of the biggest issues for me on this map, is the slow moving, right? It's really, really hard if you don't have any like fast infantry units, because the points are pretty far, and for a zombie unit that has 23 speed, I've been suffering. I felt like I was having a hard time reinforcing, whereas if we were on like an Itza map, I felt like my gunline build could have been much more effective, and we could have probably been able to hold the objectives while also reinforcing better. So a lot of it feels like it was map specific to me, the struggles we've had so far. So Count Noctil is still, duking it out here, and we got some Fellbats going in for the kill. The Lord here, actually a little bit idle for a moment, it's going to be getting surrounded and pecked, and immediately starts taking some serious damage from these Fellbats. I mean, there are 60 of them. Going to wear down that Sorcerer Lord and get the pick here. Animated Hulks cruising up, and in the backfield more zombies, but you can see my reinforcements are going to be a little bit slow to get there, and when they do, the Zangors are going to be a hard fight. Granted, we do wear them down. Hulks start to bash them a little bit, and we do actually take down these Tzeentch Lords. So we get the Lord off the battlefield and chase him. So that was a nice little grab. Doggos and more zombies out from reserve, but you can see they just take so long to get there with that 23 speed. And in the meantime, the Zangors reinforce super, super quickly, not really able to stop them super well. But overall, man, I gotta say, that's gonna be GG well played. I really had a lot of fun in that game. I love the gun line. I felt there was some potential, and I felt like with some slight contouring of the build, it could have been a lot better. In retrospect, the bloat was a bit of a meme. I would cut the bloat as well as these, and maybe just bring 2 Hulks and go with like a wider zombie core, even more zombies in the beginning to make sure I have the capture weight I need. And then from there, continue pushing. Although in this map, I would also maybe go artillery focus too, to keep that constant pressure up. Maybe like a couple mortars in the backfield. I felt like Tzeentch was having problems getting into my backfield to shut down artillery. So like maybe 3 mortars could have been kind of cool. I feel like they're pretty underrated against like blues and pinks and things like that. The Zangors are a bit of a problem. So maybe I got to go with the dual wielding Depth Guard, which will absolutely bash Zangors in combat. It won't even be close. So maybe that's an idea too. That was a lot of fun. Looking forward to trying out some Coast on the right maps, and well played to Hadries, man. He played a super scrappy game. I thought I was going to run away with it, but this boy carried it. I had no answer for him. He killed my Depth Guard, got 2,600 value, and also beat down Noctilus quite a bit. So he was a nightmare, dude. Absolute nightmare. GG well played, and we'll see you guys on the other side, and all hail the mighty.